All right.
This North Bend Council Work Session agenda for January 13th at 4:30 p.m. We'll start with roll call.
Councilor Jones.
Here.
Councilor Hamilton.
Here.
Council President Garboa.
Here.
Councilor Schultz.
Present.
Councilor Slater.
Here.
Councilor Torres.
Here.
Thank you.
Second order of business is public comment. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
All right. Next up, Melissa Cribbins, you're up.
You have 15 minutes.
15 minutes, let the timer begin. And it did.
You think, let Larry keep the tight meeting.
I was gonna say.
Just stay out some of your time.
I know, I'm gonna have to, luckily I never think I have 15 minutes worth, so the timer is probably a good idea. Good afternoon, thank you for giving me 15 minutes to update you. I'm Melissa Cribbins, I'm the Executive Director of the Pacific Coast Intermodal Port Project, located soon to be, hopefully out there on the North Spit. I'm here to give you an update on where we're currently at with that project. We have received 24 million and 29 million in order to get the design to 90% and the permitting done for the terminal and the railroad upgrades. The dredging is already at nearly 100% design, and so it doesn't need design funds, but we will be, in the future, you'll hear us talking about funds for the dredging because it does cost money to dredge a channel. Last week, we learned that we had received $3.9 million for planning and engineering for the Reedsport crossing, which had been a big concern of how to address the crossing issue in Reedsport without backing up traffic or causing difficulty with EMS vehicles. HDR did the initial engineering and public meetings for that. They held a lot of meetings in Reedsport with the city council and with the planning commission and the public. And I think they ended up with a design that people in Reedsport were pretty happy about, of basically a flyover, so it won't interfere either way. We are currently working with the city of Reedsport to put together a committee to direct that grant and to put together an RFP for the design and engineering on it. It looks like all of the RFPs will probably be issued somewhere in March, possibly April, just depending on what happens right now. We're trying to get the grant agreements finalized because, as you may have heard, there's a new administration coming in, and there's reason to believe that they're going to be very carefully scrutinizing all uses of funds. And so we want to get that under contract so we don't get held up. So we're currently having meetings with MARAD and with DOT to try to get those grant agreements wrapped up. Believe it or not, it's not unusual for it to take 6 to 8 months to get a federal grant agreement under contract. So trying to get this done in about 3 months is the fast track route, but we believe we can get it done. I wanted to mention, I get this question a lot, the planning and the permitting phase is expected to last 2 years, and construction is expected to last 3. The Biden administration did give us a fast track group, or whatever you want to call it, strike force is what we like to call it. We are not sure what happens with that group now that there's a change of administration. We have a meeting tomorrow, and we will see how many people in that group are political appointees versus how many are career federal government. We'll probably lose about half of that group due to the change, but it was a very large group to start with, about 80 people. So it was really just meant to bring all of the different agencies together in one place so they could address any conflicts or issues, and we wouldn't end up with conflicting requirements, as often happens between different agencies. We're also currently working on getting shippers under contract to ship in and out of this port. And last month we finished an initial community engagement effort That was really meant to be the port's community engagement effort and to create a community engagement plan for the port, not a NEPA plan. It's a fine distinction, but the Corps of Engineers feels very strongly that they have their own process for doing community engagement through NEPA, and this is not it, which I would agree with. What we were trying to do was really create a separate community engagement plan that allowed us to know what the concerns of the community were in particular, and how we could address those concerns, which communities were important to have a particular focus on, because obviously the concerns are different depending on where you're at. The concerns of Empire are different than the concerns of people that are along the rail line, which we have quite a few rail crossings where people's driveway actually goes across the railroad. And so trying to get all of those people to start thinking about what needed to be addressed as we move forward with this project was a big priority. The community engagement plan just got finished. It was in draft form at the last commission meeting. They will likely adopt the final version at this next commission meeting on Thursday. And that was everything I had. I can tell you I've been very popular with engineering firms lately, gotten a lot of phone calls, and there's a lot of interest in this project, obviously from engineering firms nationwide, but also just generally, a lot of people are looking at Coos Bay and North Bend and wondering, where the opportunity is and how they can help move this forward. We've also, of course, been talking about housing. I think that's, I was telling somebody the other day, I think if you had discussed this project 10 years ago, the whole focus in the community would have been jobs. Obviously now at this point, a lot of people are asking about housing, and they should. So many of us have looked for housing or have a child living with us, not saying it's me, but has a child living with us that wouldn't be living with us if it wasn't for the current housing market. And so that's something we're thinking about, because what we don't want to do is put any additional pressure on the housing market. And in fact, it'd be nice if we could help it out a little bit. So, questions?
Just a couple. One of them was just, you mentioned Reedsport, and that the way the rails run through there is the trains, 5 trains a day or whatever it is going through. How are they sort of receiving that? Or, okay, we understand, we know how it's going to go together.
There was a lot of concern initially, and rightfully so. But once HDR kind of settled on this idea of a flyover, Reedsport seems much more comfortable with that solution. Of course, there's always people that are still asking a lot of questions, which is good. But people that are concerned about the vibrations of the trains and that sort of thing, and will that cause their house to vibrate? Other than
Well,
that,
that's good. We had that experience now being a long time ago, 2013, where we rode the train down from Gardner area essentially and went through, and I was amazed at where the train track actually was in a lot of those different spots.
right.
But that's certainly a key asset to what we have. And I guess a little bigger, and I think I got the answer already, which is in a large project, and this is tracking fairly well and fairly, if we can say fairly rapidly compared to what it would be. Is that true?
Yes, I think any of us that have worked in government would say that this is moving remarkably quickly.
Yeah. Well, very cool.
If I may, what are the 3 or 4 points of interest that you make, that you put your attention to most in this project?
Right at this moment, my focus is on tracking the things that need to get done, the detail work. That's probably part of my personality, but tracking the detail work and making sure that we're not letting anything slip through. Because to me, everything that slips through is the potential for delay or a missed deadline. Also with a public-private partnership, there's an increased focus on making sure that the partners are communicating well and everybody knows what everybody is doing. So to me, those are the 2 big internal things. Externally, it's all about community engagement, making sure we're communicating well with the community, that they understand that we're not surprising people, and really starting to look at what we need to do to be communicating as we move forward, whether that's, monthly public meetings. You guys are all public officials, there's never a good time for people to come to meetings. It doesn't matter what time you schedule it for, it's challenging for people. I really feel like the advent of, Teams and Zoom and all that, which came forward so quickly with COVID, frankly, it forced all of us out of our comfort zone. But I do feel like it's made our meetings a lot more accessible to people. And it's given us another tool to be able to communicate with citizens who really like to be able to watch these meetings on their own time, whether that's at 2:00 in the morning or, 3 in the afternoon.
So is the permitting process obviously includes the North Spit,
Yes,
it includes the crossover in Reedsport, and the rail line all the way to Eugene is all one project?
the whole thing will be permitted as one project for NEPA.
And so it pretty much stops at Eugene, right?
Yes. Yeah, we won't be able to separate it. It'll all be one thing. So the terminal, the rail, and the dredging. I've
I
still got,
presume a flyover means that traffic and train traffic are not going to have to be at the same stoplights of any sort, is that what you're happening?
correct, yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, one will go over the other, so. So the good news is, that way it won't impede traffic. Based on the traffic studies they did on Highway 38, it would have been a significant traffic backup
Yes.
every time a train went through.
Yes,
Yeah, didn't surprise me either, I drive 38 a lot.
but that's terrific. So from the get-go, the intention for the whole plan is to have those, no road traffic, no car traffic, and railroad traffic interact.
That is the intention for Reedsport, yeah. There was a lot of concern about emergency vehicles,
Yeah.
in particular, trying to get them through, and I don't think there's any other way. At least there wasn't any that they identified. Of course.
And your best guess as far as project start?
For the design and permitting, or for the actual, till the,
Yeah, once you get design approved, permits and everything, what's your anticipated date there?
the projection is that this can get designed and permitted in 2 years.
So it's 2027.
Yeah, and then construction will start, and that will take 3 years.
So I appreciate the information and continuous update that, and if there are ways in which you would see that it would be of value to get this information out, among our groups or whoever not, just let us know.
Thank you.
Different times or things we can bring up or whatever.
And if questions come up for you, for any of you, please don't hesitate to reach out and call me if you don't have my number. I know David has it. I feel like everyone in the county has my number at this point, because I haven't changed it in years, but please reach out. I'm always happy to answer questions, and I know that sometimes information gets out there that's not quite correct, or people will ask questions that you never even thought of, and I'm happy to answer. Or if I can, I'll send you to somebody who can. Thank you all. Good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's funny to hear the term flyover, which is really British, because us folks from the out east, it's an overpass here in the United States, but flyover is really a British term.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah, they're interchangeable, but it's really British. Yeah, if Ralph was here, well, there's Ralph. Mr. Engineer, you agree with me?
Yeah, it's an overpass would make more sense to us.
Yeah, to us, common folks. Then Brits, that's a whole different thing.
Well, sounds much classier.
It does, but that's like pronouncing my last name, Milleron, it's French, so, yeah, anyway. Thank you.
Have a good meeting. Thank you.
Item number 5, the North Bend Strategic Planning.
All right, so last week we had our initial combined kickoff meeting with all of our cohorts. This was an opportunity for the Coraggio group. You may recall starting, I believe, in November, I started informing the council that we would be using the Coraggio group for our strategic planning process. We are in a cohort with Bucco Bay, Lincoln City, and Mount Angel. And so that was the initial kickoff. And so as part of the process, the Coraggio group wants us to survey stakeholders to see what's important as the council and staff start to develop their strategic plan. And so there was a work product that I sent you all and the staff. I have extra copies here. There should have been one of your boxes. I've got an extra copy. If there's anyone that needs one, I've got it. I do what I normally do best. I synthesized everything from that meeting and then tried to put it in a logical order, taking into account the historical direction. Historical for me only goes to 2020, by the way, of where the governing body has been going. And so in this document, this one is labeled City Administrator Feedback and Input. It's also the one that I had communicated with you all today via text. The mayor and I had gone through it prior to her departure to the Capitol. But in this case, the survey is going to ask what 3 words best describe the kind of community you hope to see in 10 years. And so that is where they actually will put those words in. And I suspect the Coraggio group will most likely gather that and create what's called a wordle. And so that you can see sort of in a graphic, picturesque sort of what folks think or say their 3 words most common are. Where our part comes in starts with number 2. It says, what are community's greatest assets today? Pick 3 out of no more than 10. And so ideally the goal today is either to accept the 10, reject some of them and whittle it down, or potentially add something, but if you add something you have to remove something because they're telling us no more than 10, and that's because it's going to be a survey. So you don't really want to overwhelm the folks and make them do a lot of work. You'll see in parentheses, that is my verbiage. That's not the verbiage that's going to be on the survey. What would be on the survey is what's in the highlighted bold, such as like community spaces, library, parks, and public facilities. And so this is sort of your discussion opportunity to decide one of those 3. Do you want to add something or delete? Do you want to accept it as is? Or do you want to eliminate something so that you're not misleading the public as to what a priority may be if it's not actually the will of the council making it a priority as part of the strategic planning process. In some way, some form, Coraggio Group believes that this is going to help spur more discussion as we do our next 2 actual hands-on, roll up your sleeve, meal provided strategic planning sessions, because they are 2 back-to-back 3-hour sessions, one in February, one in March. And we'll talk about those dates soon, which means that the normal work session will actually be a council meeting work session all in one. So we'll do our work session as strategic planning, and then the following, the Tuesday following that Monday will be sort of an all-in-one encompass meeting. So that way we don't add extra meetings to your plate. Someone thought it was surprising, actually bowled over when I had to repeat to them that the council members, other than your $25 twice a month, you're actually volunteers. And they got blown away and couldn't believe that you're actually volunteers. But anyway.
No reason smart here.
All right, so what's the will of the council and what direction do you want to take this?
Well, I'm thinking for a working document, I mean,
I didn't think I wanted to remove anything, I thought that it was a comprehensive list, and it was not something that I thought, did anyone think of something that wasn't on there that they thought should have been on there?
No, I agree, I thought it was comprehensive. The only thing that I felt a little tinge of weirdness was dedicated community leaders. I felt like that was sort of like tooting a horn.
Well, I mean, people might
It's
not,
not that it's
people might not
false.
pick it, people might not pick it.
Right, it's not that it's false, it's just that it felt like
So do we
it went
have
outside
to
of
have
topic.
No. In fact, you have to have a minimum of 3,
Because
no more than 10.
I didn't like number 7.
Oh, good, me
I
too.
didn't like it.
You don't think a community is one of the assets is a strong
It's
leadership?
definitely an
No.
asset, but
But
it's
that's the
sort of.
question, it says, what is a community's
But
greatest
I don't,
asset
I mean,
today?
going out to the community, I don't know.
Do you think I'm your greatest
I don't know.
asset?
But see, you think it's just about you all.
Yeah, it's different
No, it's about the
leadership.
staffers as well,
Well,
for
and
sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's a community as a whole, so you have a lot of leaders in your community.
That's true, that's very true.
But you can strike it, all you need to do is have a majority, so there's 2 of you all. And by the way, so if you watched the video, you actually saw that we had a great representation of both staff and council. We recognized when we did the initial kickoff that not everyone can make it. We knew that going in. But we reserved the hard work for you all for the work session, so we'll see you there.
I guess that one you were talking about, number 7, was, in my eyes, when we talked about it, it was like, the people at me, when they want to go do something, if they want to go to the pool, or, you know, all the other people in the community, or the other leaders of the service community, is what they're talking about there, you know.
I don't know.
Like if you go to the pool, like people that run the pool, like if your family frequents the pool, and like the community leaders that you deal with, and the fire department shows up, because you cat out of the tree, like, that's important to you, and fire department puts your house out, and the police arrest the criminals. That, to me, that's what they're talking about.
Well, and I think the fact that it says pick top 3 out of 10, it's not like, I mean, maybe people
That's
will
true.
pick that one, but it is something that if they did pick it, it'd be interesting to see, and again, I think it is, I didn't take it as it was us, like, we're doing a great job, I want you to
Maybe it's just
pick
because
me.
it came underneath my email, which I don't look at, once every 2 weeks.
When you go to other cities that don't have anybody,
Mhm.
you know,
It's more holistic, because that was part of the conversation is,
Mhm.
as a community, so
That's
you're all putting on this city council hat,
not
so you're
simply
looking at the whole
council,
city as a whole.
right.
But, you know, for example, somebody like maybe John Whitty and the stuff that he's done and the things that he's put together. So you have people that push the theater, you have people that
Yeah, yeah.
take care of that, and those are all commensurate with, you have a group of people that want to make things happen. And that's, to me, what it's saying there is not simply saying, yeah, city councils are really top notch.
But I think like when it goes out, let's just say to community members or something, like we had to explain that.
Exactly.
But when I see it just like that,
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe
Yeah.
for like dedicated community organizations and leaders, that's some way to just.
So you can tweak it, but I was asked to sort of portray it this way. Because I could see that the Crosio group actually pointed us down the last hour. Because we actually had some side notes even on this one, if you look at the original. And so, if that, let's say that number 7 comes back highly ranked, when you go into your strategic planning, you have to think of what are you going to sort of look at as mission statements that's going to help you further that. So far, I think there's 3 to strike. Is there anybody else, or you want to leave it?
We're not picking top 3, right? We're just saying we want this to be.
No, no,
We're
you
saying,
have
are these 10, like, leave them
Good,
alone?
yeah.
So far, I've heard that 7 probably wants to be struck by at least 3 of you. I'm just trying to keep it moving so that we can keep.
I'm good with all 10.
I'm good with all 10,
Me too.
It's fine.
so we have 4.
So you have 4 to strike 7, or 4 or 4?
4.
4, okay. So anyone else want to add, delete, or change up anything else?
No, I thought it was really comprehensive.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we move on to number 3. yet again, minimum of 3, no more than 10. You see the staff notes, so we tried to actually look again at actionable items that were tied to your previous adopted goals. So you've gone through the 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24. So you've had 2 rounds. This is actually going into what I call the third tranche of a strategic plan. And so this looks at the list that was developed and then sort of list it in the order of most priority down to the least. You all may think otherwise, but again, it will be the survey folks that actually then rank order it.
I also thought this was really comprehensive.
Well, the only one I don't quite get is isolation.
That's what I was just looking at. Councilor Jones.
Yeah, I mean.
So, as I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, when we were talking about isolation, there was discussion among some of the group members about the fact that we're so far away from I-5, trying to get anywhere, that, you know, anything happens, you're on your own, we're dependent on our own, and so it had the fact that you're just a coastal area. Interesting enough, that same conversation had a flip going the other pendulum of, but we're rolling, look at all the great things we have, and we have the coast, we have the water, we have the dunes, we have all of these other things. And so it was a plus and minus. In fact, some of the conversation was, you know, because we are isolated, you don't have the jobs, you know, we have youth that lead. And so that was how that got there, as I recollect. Anybody else remember different?
No, that was it, but if I was gonna block one of them, it would be that one, because above it, I know transportation is talking about bike lanes, but to me, that isolation would tie in transportation, but that's just me.
How is demographic shifts defined? I should
Yeah,
have
that's
maybe-
the other question I have, is that.
So the
Sort of
demographic
just
shifts,
Is that the one I didn't like?
yeah, demographic shifts, my recollection in the conversation
The youth one.
was the youth. Our youth are actually leaving. We used to actually be very, very vibrant back in the day. We had timber, we had thriving jobs, everything we now don't. Folks actually come here for health care. We talked about education, schools, a sense of place, isolation. Then they actually end up leaving after about 2 years once they punch the card, gotten what they needed to do, and they move on. And so that was that. Anybody recall differently otherwise?
The survey is just gonna show the words though.
Yeah, it's just the words, so they
Left
So
to
I think it's
right.
hard to understand, but maybe that's because I'm newer to the community, so maybe the shift is not shifty to me.
Demographics are gonna shift depending on what we do here. I mean, if you increase housing, increase industry, whatever else, you're gonna automatically change the demographics of the area.
But we're saying what's challenging, like what's pressing challenges that are facing. So because we've done things previously, now there's a shift that is like the pendulum swing kind of is what I'm interpreting it as. So if I was surfing this, I would say, which it's a challenge because now we've chosen to do things and people are leaving.
Well, we didn't choose, the industry chose to leave us.
Correct.
The timber, I mean, the fishing is basically gone.
Well, but if we created strategic plans for, you know, every 2 years for, I don't know, since you first got on the council, then there were choices that we made along the way that changed some of the things I like to think.
So this is a, what they call like a slice in time, so the survey will go out, and so those surveys would be telling you in rank order, these are the issues that we believe are the most pressing challenges in our city today. And so based on that, let's say that they rank order, and I'll just take one, isolation first, okay? An overwhelming number one was, you know, then obviously I think the Coraggio group will work with you to develop mission things that potentially could address that if that is the will of the governing body.
Yeah.
Because the survey is not scientific. We've already established that in our first meeting. And so this is input, feedback to you as part of your process. So,
think
we have no qualms, if you wanna, slice something, by all means, or change the wording, this is your opportunity to do it.
I just think quickly reading this, I didn't necessarily understand what demographic shifts meant. So I don't know if people read it, if they're gonna be like, oh, that's, I think it could be interpreted.
So I've been here 4 years, this is my take on it.
Yeah.
Those damn folks coming in from California.
Well,
And that's all I've heard for 4 years,
What?
The
Californians.
Yeah, but I mean, those are.
Well, they were really assailed in the 70s, and as things went on that way, our shift, as Larry pointed out, the issue was, yes, we were liable with timber and so forth going on. The Endangered Species Act, plus a couple of other things, basically all public timber dried up, which meant you didn't have supplies to some of these other operations that were mills based around that. So what we lost was that group of people between 25 and 40, and they had all the kids. So as they moved on, that's where education's had a problem, that's where a lot of these things have gone on. So if in fact your longer term or mid-mod, you may have experienced that, thought, yeah, that was a real loss and that's an issue. The beauty of this is, here are a variety of what we see as issues. Now let's see what rises to the top from it, and some of the things we don't even have to address.
Right,
Because as we focus on that top three.
right, demographics they're gonna do what they're gonna do depending on what we do
Yeah.
on the rest of the site.
But it says no more than 10, so we have to get rid of one.
Yeah, in fact, what Tim said is back during all of the high time of timber and everything, you had a lot of folks coming in from different areas. The demographic changes were changing.
Mhm.
And then they had children, and then, and so you talk about, you hear a lot of times of the old rivalries about how strong it was. I look at the current rivalry, and I'm like, this is nothing, let's go to Texas, I'll show you rivalries. But back in the heyday, I'm sure it was absolutely just, I mean, heck, they'd come steal our mascot, on a regular basis, and, stuff
But we
like
have
that.
11 and we need 10, correct? That's what we need to do.
You have 10, you can go less, you right now have 11 on the list, so you gotta cut something.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't mind cutting 9 and 10.
That is fine.
9 and 10.
He wants only 9.
I wanna cut both 9 and 10.
No, but that would mean that there's 9 left. I like 10 because it's 9.
Oh my God.
Well, 10's not sacred.
Well, 10, we don't really have them. You can't individually work on it.
Yeah, demographic shift is an.
I will tell you that the more you have, the more you will water down the usefulness of your results. And I say that from a statistician perspective, and so I know that.
I don't mind cutting the 2 of those.
Okay, so let's do that.
I'm game.
9 and 10.
Mhm.
9 and 10.
Do we want to get rid of the others?
We got rid of 9 and 10.
The rest of them are
We
The rest of
blew out
them
9
are
for
pretty
10.
relevant.
Now 11, are we gonna focus that down, like maybe access to healthcare or something
Access
like
to
that?
natural disaster.
Well, I mean, if we have a natural disaster, we're on our own.
That is right.
We're isolated.
The federal government's not gonna be here to help us. I mean, we've got what we've got.
I just don't think that number 11, well, now it's gonna be number 9, but it's just kind of a general, like if they didn't necessarily, it'd be interesting to see if people choose that one.
Is that sort of like a write-in on the ballot?
A little bit, I thought.
Kind of.
Right, is how they're gonna
Yeah.
ask them to.
Well, I mean, access to healthcare would be a good one, freestanding disaster.
You can do that, we can just, like, if you all want, we can take away the words other considerations, just say access to healthcare and leave it as that.
I go with that.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that works.
Yeah.
Can we
That
do
sounds
that?
good too. That sounds
Okay,
The less you
All right.
give them to answer, the easier it's gonna be to get information to use.
we'll do that. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I had one question.
Yes.
Well, I know what you're getting at as I read it and went through it. And I think it's a significant thing to talk about. Number 5 says resource limitations. And when I read that through, I thought, oh, well, access to timber, or is it fish, or what? And I know what you're talking about is financial resource limitation.
Right.
But is there a different word for resources? It's
Or
sort of-
maybe adding public resource
Or
limitations,
just saying financial limitations.
public financial resource limitations.
There was a lot of discussion around resource limitations, and it's interesting. So in fact, so when you say you're getting that, this is actually a collaborative of, you were on the call, so there was a lot of folks. And so you may recall some of the conversation about access to big box, being able to get clothes. In fact, there was a question like, where in town can I get a size 14 double shoe if I wanted one? So you can make these as specific or as generic as you want, so you can modify them. And so when the public sees resource limitations, think through, what do you think they're thinking? So if you wanna tweak it, you can.
When I was looking at the parentheses, oh yeah, well, that is it, and, that's all the taxation issues that have gone on since the 90s, and that we're all aware of those bidding, and that's really significant. But I didn't get there out of resource
Yeah, but
limitation.
you don't want the general public to get hung up on, fishing or timber or something, trying to.
Or their own pocketbook,
Right. I mean,
because you can't solve that.
municipal fiscal limitations.
Let's make it like financial resource limitations.
That's fine.
Wanna do that? Sound good?
Sure, why not?
So financial resource limitations. Okay? Anything else you want to change on that?
Nope.
Add, delete, change? All right, now, again, so now that you've really aggressively worked on that, on number 2, do you want to change anything?
What do you mean?
Affordable housing or workforce housing,
Number 2 is greatest assets.
right?
So you really rolled up your sleeves on number 3. Question is, well, do you want to revisit 2 and are you fine with those 10 as greatest assets in your community?
They're good.
Yeah.
Still good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so the next thing is number 4. This is a rank ordering. This is urgency of addressing these priority areas. Urgency of addressing these priority areas. And so, again, up to 10, no more than 3. There is your potential list.
I also think this is quite comprehensive and good.
We took off natural disaster zone and then we also left emergency preparedness and management. Is that okay that we're doing that one without the other one potentially?
So, let's think back. So, issues facing our community, meaning what do individuals think that we're facing with right now? So potentially it could be natural disasters. This is asking them to prioritize what do you want your city government to focus on most.
Okay.
Don't lose sight that emergency preparedness, although we have, emergency preparedness, the de facto in charge of that is supposed to be the county. We're working on that.
Okay.
So we're working collectively with that as an effort.
Benefit after the event.
But if they don't have any money,
Yeah.
they might have a resource management issue.
That's in the middle.
Emergency.
But we as a city have a emergency preparedness plan.
Yes, we have a plan. In fact, in the last 4 years, we've tested it 3 times.
I mean, and that's basically all we can do. We can't rely on anybody else.
Well, we can, but you'd be sitting there like waiting for someone that didn't show up for a date. All right, all good then. So we move on to number 5. Number 5 simply lists, what's your relationship to the city? So it could be an employee, elected official, business community member, community-oriented, organizational, just a resident. Does that cover all the potential choices you want, or do you need another one or another category?
I think it's good. I hate the order.
Yeah, I don't think you get
You
it.
think resident should go
Can we
first?
just flip the order and make resident first?
I think we just
Community-based
copied and
organization.
pasted that from the Coraggio group. We didn't actually
So you can
select
just
an order.
alphabetize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can, it's our survey, so we can tell them you went
Resident's still
alphabetized.
gonna end up last, so it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, stick resident.
Can we put resident first?
Well, how about you just tell me what number? So if resident is 1, what do you want as 2?
Community-based organization member.
Okay, what do you want as
Business
3?
community member, city employee, elected officials.
Is that fine? You all good with that?
Sure, I don't care.
Doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
I mean,
If it makes you happy, that's fine.
oh, I like it. I like this.
All right, distribution. Who do you want the survey distributed to? And keep in mind that it's going to only be done electronic because there is a narrow time for the survey. As I recall, it's somewhere like, I think it's like a 5-day period at the end of January to like February 2nd. It's a real small deadline time where they're
Are we doing QR codes?
we can ask, were QR codes talked about? I think we did actually, no, I believe we did because we were talking about the AIDS distribution and, because I brought up the thing that barcodes are going bye-bye and they're being replaced by QR codes. I remember we had a brief discussion about we can have QR codes as an option, otherwise there's a linked email to them. And then everybody is going to be asked, the goal is to try to get North Bend centric and only North Bend community members, businesses. So we know that we talked about, well, here we have city employees. We can email to the city employees. Obviously the elected officials, we can email to those. Business community members, we have an email list of our businesses. Community-based organizations, we're going to have to rely on trying to make sure that folks can help us get that out to the various organizations, because if they have not registered, even though it's free to as a business, if, we won't capture them all necessarily. Residents, we have our website email address, we have our pool. We were told that we could segment the library, and then we have our former K through 12 email list. So we, and then I don't know if we captured any email addresses with our most recent park survey and things of that nature. Now, by the way, how many folks participated overall in the park surveys for the most recent Parks Master Plan update?
Through all the avenues we did public forum, we did a booth at one of the downtown events, and we did the mail out with the water bill, and we still only got 458.
So the more people you get this thing to, the better represented it's gonna be. You're gonna get a very small return.
Yeah. The reason I specifically asked that question, there's a post on Nextdoor from a former city council member that is taking issue with our Parks Master Plan, so I was gonna correct the misinformation about, because there's a whole bunch of in there, because I know all the previous Parks members were asked, and she keeps referring to her neighbor, and her neighbor chose not to participate. So it's like, you can only do so much. But I was gonna work on that today, but we had some computer version issues, so. Anyway, thank you for that. So we will get it to those lists. Is there anything else?
Is a water bill just ridiculous or too late?
We talked about that. The timing won't accommodate to get the survey done, and then, if we had time, yes, the Coraggio group set with the cohort that week that we've got to be able to generate the responses.
What time can we expect to get a survey link so that we can send it to people?
In my previous email distribution, I said that they're going to take all of this, so I have to get it to them by close of business tonight, which to us is like midnight, so I actually have to go after the meeting and get it to them. And to them it's 5 o'clock, but they then will be working to put it all in SurveyMonkey. They'll then be sending me and several others of the group tests where you actually go in, test, try to break it. Then they will send the group, they'll distribute it out, and then we'll have the link. The link that they are sending, they said, is a unique link that cannot be used multiple times and from multiple computers. So they send you a link. I don't know that you will need to be able to push them where they can actually fill it out.
So I understand that. So at what point will we have access to
Sometime
QR
later this
code or
month.
something that?
Sometime later this month.
It looks like
Their
the end
goal-
of January.
Their goal is to get it out near the end of January and the first week of February.
Okay, one, it says launch period is January 21st through February 4th.
Oh, there
Yeah,
you
see,
go.
there you go. So it's
So
gonna
it's
be within the next week or so.
Okay.
It's we just have to keep moving forward with them.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, all right, last but not least, I took their draft letter, I edited it. This is what came out in the wash. Any questions about the verbiage? Because this is also something I wanted to, I tried to make it as engaging and right to the point. I love their version, but yeah, I rewrote the whole dang thing.
It looks good.
Yep, I like it as
We
well.
all good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. All right, that's all that for that one, so thank you.
Okay, now quickly, we're gonna review the council agenda for tomorrow.
I think I heard the word quickly.
Yes. You're up. You got 4.5 minutes.
Trying to set the record. All right, so you got the call to order and pledge allegiance, roll call, ceremonial introduction of, we have a new sergeant, Nick White. We have a presentation of FBI leadership award, that'll be Sergeant Kinney. On the consent calendar, you got your bills, you got your appointment to boards, commissions, and committees. You have in there a suggested, I think this is probably the longest suggested motion ever written since I've been here. I didn't write it, but I did take a look at it. So you all have to make sure that you're cool with all of those folks, because although you're doing it under consent, the document trumps. That was a question previously, because that's in the official record. So if you're okay with that suggested motion, you actually are doing it under consent, you're not reading that motion, but that is what is recorded as the actual action in the minutes. So you all cool with those folks being appointed?
Yes.
Any questions?
What, I'm just like, well, with one of them, can I just have to excuse myself from one of them?
Because you have a financial interaction with someone, help me
He's
understand.
my supervisor.
Your supervisor? Okay, so, Mr. City Attorney, in this case, we would have a consent agenda, and one individual to be appointed would be a supervisor. Does she have to declare a potential or an actual or no conflict of interest?
Boy, I am not seeing the conflict of interest there. And this is just to one of these committees or boards. And does this potential committee member or?
Which one is it?
Bruce Martin.
Bruce Martin. That's on the Housing Authority, so it's not going to affect her unless she has family seeking housing in the public housing units.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, because he's like, my direct one.
So, okay, good. move on then to something called a Vector Solutions Training Program approval. Is that Ralph? Who's Vector? That's you? Vector? What's a vector? See, come on up and explain to us what a vector is.
In Public Works, it's rats.
It's racks, all these fancy little things. I like Vector Solutions, 42.
So Vector Solution is a
Oh, you can
training.
introduce yourself, because some of them might
sorry.
not know who you are.
Yes. Brian Waddington, Assistant Fire Chief.
Thanks, Brian.
So Vector Solution is a training program that we use at the fire department. It used to be called Target Solutions, then they changed it. But it's a training program. It tracks all of our assets management. It tracks our training. We can do EMS training on it. We can do checks. So every day we do vehicle checks, rig checks. It's all on our iPads. We can go out there, check it all off, goes into the computer. It's a system that we've been using since 2018. So it's an annual renewal for all of our training.
All right, so all good there? Any questions for him? All right, Brian, you got the next one. This is your IGA for the Regional Hazardous Materials Emergency Response Team Services.
So if you don't know, Coos Bay is the local hazmat, regional hazmat team through the state. So they have a certain area that they cover. And if you haven't seen their big pieces of equipment from the state, their hazmat trailer and stuff like that. So they cover from California border up to Florence and to I-5. So any hazmat incident, that's where they're going. And it could be from a leaking gas tank, from a semi-truck that's leaking, or in a city that has something going on. So luckily, we have in the past few hires have received 2 hazmat technicians. They are both previously on the team, but this IGA is for this. So the state pays for the training, for the response. If they have to go to an incident, they cover all of the PPE, personal protective equipment. So they buy turnouts, they buy everything that that technician needs. We just pay the initial costs for if they go to training. If they're not on duty, we pay for that. But then we are reimbursed through the city or through the state. They reimburse everything. So if it's overtime, they'll reimburse that. Now that doesn't mean that if we're down to 2 people on shift that he or she have to go. Because our priority is the city. So they don't necessarily have to go. But if they're available, they will go. Does it benefit the city? Absolutely. To have 2 technicians on duty at North Bend is a huge capability for us, right? To be able to call them, ask them questions.
There's basically no financial burden on the city.
No financial burden. And actually, I was talking to Mr. Bridges today, and they're paying above, they're reimbursing us well. So they'll pay at the highest step and overtime, so.
So is this new to North Bend because the 2 people joined the team that have the past experience?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the hazmat technician is a 40-hour class that they have to go through, and it's annual training and stuff like that. It's just, we haven't been up to that yet. But having the opportunity to have 2 now and be able to put them into this program, I think it's a great opportunity for us.
All right, any other questions for the Assistant Chief?
No, I think you did a good job.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, the next one, Council, you may recall an email I sent to you about the police department for the Cradle Point devices. At the time, it exceeded my whopping $5,000 approval. However, we had a time time-sensitive opportunity for a $10,000 rebate. As I do from time to time, I let the council know if you've got angst, let me know. If I don't hear otherwise, I'm going to move forward. And then we'll put it on a future agenda. Why does it get on a future agenda when I've already done everything and purchased? In fact, all the equipment's here. It's because when the auditors review it, I have my email communication, but then I actually have a record to show that I didn't violate financial policies. And so if you've got any questions as to what the police department's going to do just think of it as a highfalutin modem in the cars. That's what it is, but the chief is here and will gladly answer any questions you got.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you could just sort of explain, here's the upgrade, here's what we're doing, and how that aids in faster connection.
So, it is really simply put a modem. And what the reason for this purchase is that we have a lot of technology inside these patrol vehicles, and they range from the LPR cameras that we recently have installed in all the cars and been working, getting that program up and running. So that is sending a signal. Then we have the cameras that are downloading extreme amounts of data through these video files. And then we also have our in-car mobile data terminals. And so those laptops are linked to our RMS system. Our officers are dispatched to calls. We have the ability to send information, upload information from those laptops. And so there's a lot of data going in and out of all these systems. Currently, we run a MiFi device. And what the problem with that is limited to one, possibly two of those devices at one time. So we've had to have extra MiFis in there that are not, they're just not efficient. They can't keep up with that data transfer. We did install three of these devices in three of the newest Durangos, and those, we tested those, watched the productivity of those devices, and they're undoubtedly faster, more efficient. We're encountering times with officers in the field with the MiFi devices. We'll be out on a call, and we're not in an area that has awesome cell reception to begin with, but they're constantly running into being logged in and logged out because they lose reception. So any one of these three systems, they may have to come back in and log out, and it's not efficient, it's not productive. And so we've identified them, they tested well, they're working great, improving the efficiency of all the devices in those three vehicles that we currently have. So.
And it was $900 per vehicle after the rebate is made. It's not much money.
Yeah, it was a project that originally was going to cost probably north of $20,000, and so this was an excellent opportunity. And I really got to commend our IT, James Ingram, for locating this deal with one of Verizon's vendors to put this together. So it was an excellent opportunity for the city.
So it's just a device, the connectivity is through something, it's not attached to this thing? Or is it, the ability to talk to the universe?
Yeah, everything comes
in the car, we buy it once.
Right.
What's the longevity of it, do you think?
I really don't have that information for you. I would, the warranty, typically on something like that, most would be a couple years, I would imagine, but I suspect it will be running for longer than that.
Yeah.
Well, technology nowadays is going to be antiqued within 18 months.
All right, any other questions for the police chief?
I think that was a lot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that would take care of all of the consent agenda items. As always, any member of the governing body can remove an item and bring it out for a separate vote. Is there anything on the consent calendar that you would want to bring out? And a reminder, a consent calendar, when you motion, there's not discussion. That's why it's called a consent. You've discussed it. It actually is move on. Okay, that's why we give you that option. All right, next one, then you have public comment if we have any. And then the next item is on page 92. It's why your packets are so large. And so this is presented by our city recorder / HR, which is Macy. Macy has painstakingly worked due diligence with all of the staff, CIS, other cities, in order to get our handbook updated. And so Macy, you've got the floor.
Good evening, counselors. So this is just going to be a really quick recap and presentation of the adoption of our 2025 City of North Bend Employee Handbook. Our current handbook has not been updated since 2016. I've been working with CIS and all my fellow department heads. We met, I think, about 4 times. We had weekly meetings for about an hour earlier last year, went through all the pages of it. I made sure that CIS gave us the green light on all of this. A few of the updates just include new information on the Oregon Family Leave Act, the Family and Medical Leave Act. The Paid Leave Oregon is new for us too. That's now in there. We've added a couple different policies like AI in the workplace, social media policies. It removed a lot of the outdated information for payroll, such as like the information of receiving physical checks. Since we don't do that anymore, they were also on a monthly pay schedule, which we are not on anymore. And we also provided a nice new updated employee acknowledgement form for every employee to sign. And if it is adopted, we will issue it immediately. And I'm very pleased with it and how it turned out.
I'll have to say that, we went through and read the document going down, how's that Terrence O'Connor's name on it? There's something on social media there, finally get to the end of that and find out, oh, I think he gave us a copy of the 2016. And here's the real life.
It was
okay,
time.
Well, yeah, and he answered the questions that I was coming up with in the original document, so you got me on that one.
Good. It's time. And I think, yeah, I think every employee deserves to have a nice brand new employee handbook they can refer to, we can all refer to, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it, so.
All right, any additional questions for Macy?
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next one, number 7, is on page, see you flip down to page 241.
Yeah.
Let's get back.
Sorry.
For those that were on the council, those that are new, back in 2020, it was set as a goal to reinvigorate our downtown merchant association. We did that through our Oregon Main Street participation agreement program. There was a 3-year agreement program. It is now up for renewal, and so we have presenting before you Stephanie Wilson, who manages that program for the city.
Hello,
That's
Council.
my wife.
Stephanie Wilson, Community Development Manager, and I'm the Executive Director for the Main Street Program for North Bend. So I want to take this opportunity to not only bring this before you for the agreement and a signature on that, but an opportunity to share what we've been up to in the last year. And I put this together for my first slide because a lot of people ask, well, what do you do and why do you do it? Well, we do it for the people. We do it for the community engagement and the betterment of North Bend. And so our program, if we can be a small portion in the bigger picture for the whole of North Bend and the community, then that's why we are here. Can I just click through, or do you have to click through? So this is just a variety of pictures, and we have some business owners down there, visiting businesses who we open up our doors for participation. And of course, our youth, which we're very passionate about. And we have some volunteers up there. No, maybe not.
Oh, that arrow.
Huh?
The down arrow.
I cannot see.
On your keyboard.
Oh, right here, okay. There we go. All right. So I pulled up this slide because National Main Street is what I call like the mothership for Main Street. So that's the top of the organization. So when we actually sign these agreements and pay into it, we are paying National Main Street. Underneath that is each state's program, which ours is of course Oregon Main Street program. And then you guys would be next, City of North Bend. Since our program, North Bend Main Street, is housed underneath you. Even once we move out as a nonprofit, we'll still maintain a contract and support from the city for our program and our efforts. And then what I will do is, oh, I keep wanting to use my mouse, there we go. Okay, so program summary. So we are a group of dedicated individuals who promote downtown. And it's really amazing to see how this program has grown. I'm not going to sit and read all the words for you, but we started off as a city applying, and then we've slowly grown. And we're up to over 20 members within our organization, between board members, committee members, volunteers. And it's just amazing to see each year how this program grows and how much more community engagement it offers. We have also 20 active businesses amongst all of our businesses downtown who every event, they participate in each event. So I always want to give them recognition because without their participation, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of our engagement and efforts that we do downtown. We also have a sponsorship package that we just built last year, and we're really proud of that. And some really well-recognized establishments and organizations have been sponsoring our events, so that helps offset that cost factor into what we can bring for the community. And in addition to that, Oregon Main Street offers so much opportunities for us and assistance. The Main Street coordinator for the state, she came down and did goal setting with our organization, and so that helps us really facilitate those objectives and how our program can benefit the strategic plan and goal for the city council. Oops. Okay, so we're just going to go through really quick some highlights from each committee. We have 4 committees for Main Street. So our organization committee is kind of the bones of the program and really facilitates a lot of, like those bylaws and the back end of it. So this year we're super proud to have helped assist with July Jubilee and now offered a subcommittee under our organization to help facilitate that and see that through for years to come. We also developed a pre-application. This was in the support for Oregon Main Street and that network that we build with all the other Main Streets. We kind of throw ideas off each other and help build our programs based on that. So we offered this for our business and buildings owners downtown to really emphasize on the historic preservation aspect of it and the opportunities that is offered through Oregon Main Street.
So you're saying pre-application, so you mean meeting with people who could benefit if they apply?
Correct. So, so the Oregon Main Street Revitalization Grant, we made a pre-application on the local level to basically a request for interest to see who's interested in that, work through their projects. And so, yes, because that is a biannual grant and this year it's open. So that kind of helps show our efforts and commitment to helping them and connecting them with these grants that are offered through Oregon Main Street. Up next, our promotion committee. Once again, we had no events downtown. The Liberty Theater was doing such a great job year after year bringing people downtown, and so we are very, very proud to bring over 4,000 people downtown, and 15 of those being children. It's really wonderful when you see over 1,000 people on the streets of North Bend from not having any events. We've also opened up our doors. A lot of questions is, well, why is it all about downtown? Well, that's our primary focus area and that's in our agreement with the state, but we find different avenues in which we can do that incorporation for other businesses. So we've had over 30 throughout 2024 come in and help feature them and participate.
This probably is unknown, but in case it is, can we have any numbers for how many businesses are considered downtown and how many are outside the downtown or the Main Street area? Like within Main Street and outside, just as a rough number.
Oh, well, we have over 30 downtown and then throughout all of North Bend.
Yeah.
We do have a database for that, but I don't know the exact number on outside the district, the number of the businesses.
So we have 30 downtown businesses or 30 Main Street.
30-ish Main Street.
Okay.
Correct. Yep, and then as I mentioned, we built a sponsorship package. So between that and our fundraising efforts for events, we secured over $10,000 last year, help offsetting costs, as well as $2,000 in that's Main Street businesses and outside the district, their donations and contributions to our program. Design committee. We can't help but talk about the Liberty Theater because that revitalization grant that we talk about, that's biannual grant, helps facilitate the recreation of the Liberty Blade sign. So the picture there of January last year when we hosted, helped host that celebration and that lighting ceremony. We also installed the Wayfinder signs. This was a pitch, as most of you know, and for those who may not, we went to Oregon Main Street Conference, which is a requirement of ours, and so myself and usually the board president will go as well. we pitched this concept and received $3,000 towards the project, and it's very great to have it down at the new visitor center. The QR code tracks visitors who scan that, and it's only been up since October of this past year, and we've received visitors from Massachusetts, Texas, Ohio, and of course, California, Washington, and Oregon.
How many people use that QR code?
How many people have used it?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to say it was like around 30 or 40 scans so far, but those are some of the furthest zip codes that it's tracked. Okay, and then we also offer downtown cleanups, so we try to connect with other nonprofits for those efforts as well. Okay, so Economic Vitality Committee. This has been a really fun year because we've had a lot of businesses come and go, but we were a neighborhood champion with American Express. A lot of what the Oregon and National Main Street Program does is that it connects you to all the resources. So we get almost bi-weekly emails from Oregon Main Street with opportunities. For instance, T-Mobile grant that we just got, that was in partnership with so they send that out every quarter. And so part of that is American Express, who hosts the Small Business Saturday campaign. So we actually focused on shopping local and sourcing local. And we had people come in and write the business they were visiting and who they should partner with. And in that efforts, we have now the florist downtown is going to be teaming up with the coffee shops down there to be offering coffee bouquets. So it's just a way to show that partnership and those business groupings and what you can bring from that. And so those are some of the workshops that we take that's offered through the technical support of Oregon Main Street. Okay, and I made it quick because I heard the word quick earlier, so I zipped through that. We, of course, have achieved a lot more than just that, but I just try to do some highlights and bullet points to at least present to you with this agreement for the signature.
Did you say it used to be 3 years that we had to sign like an up, and now it's what, like is it annually now, or is it? Have we done this
Yeah, we've brought this before.
We have brought this,
Okay.
this particular agreement is annual.
Okay.
As Stephanie said, ultimately the goal has always been to create a nonprofit arm of Main Street,
Yeah.
but not lose our stronghold on Main Street. My experience has been that a collaborative effort actually builds a much stronger Main Street program, and without it, they actually go in ebbs and flows. In fact, we took great pride when Roger Craddock at the time was city manager of Coos Bay and said he wished he had created theirs like ours. Moreover, just in the time that the Main Street program has been in place, specific to the Main Street, has generated over $500,000 of grants back into our community. Two of those were the revitalization grants, $3,000 for the Wayfinder, $50,000 in the Main Street T-Mobile grant that was specific to Main Street, and we've had multiple others. And so collaboratively. Aside from that, one thing, to answer your question, the mall has just as many businesses. I actually have more licensed businesses than we have in our Main Street. But all research has always shown nationwide that if you're downtown, which is the sort of heartbeat of your community, if it is not thriving, the rest of your community does not thrive and do as well. And so you've seen this outward networking and then the layering. In fact, because of the relationships, wearing a separate hat, I'm proud to say that Stephanie has been able to network with these businesses and has generated over $10,000 of sponsorship this season just for the ice skating rink.
Oh.
And so those businesses that were on the candy crawl, she has already re-upped all those sponsorships for next year. And so now they are looking, the Main Street program is taken on July Jubilee and expects to be able to build that back to its greatness, which of course was another council goal.
Yeah, I was just questioning my memory, but.
Oh yes, absolutely, it was a 3-year agreement. This was one, although we're going to be asking the Main Street program to make application to go to the next level higher.
That's what I wondered if it was like there was a stepping
Yes, there's a,
There's
another's
four.
here.
Yeah, there's four. There's Connected Communities, which you guys started out as when you first signed up, and then once I was brought on board and we established the board directors, we applied for and were granted the affiliate level, which is what we are now.
Okay.
Then there's designated and accredited, so that's the 4 tiers.
That's what I
You're
wanted
welcome.
to know.
Yeah, so we're going to push them to go to the next level.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
all right, any other questions for Stephanie? All right, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
the next one is Senate Bill 1530. We have our Public Works Director here, but this is something you've heard about before. We went to the legislature and aggressively had worked with Senator Jake Anderson and Representative Boomer Wright to secure $900,000 in an appropriation. It was North Bend's first appropriation, direct appropriation in the history. And it is for 2 housing projects where we are handling the infrastructure. And it is going to benefit both North Bend and Coos Bay. With that said, Ralph, you got the floor.
Very good. We have a contract presented to us finally from Business Oregon, which says we're going to complete these projects by June 30th. So we will default on this contract unless they give us a time extension. Their verbiage says, and they can't give us a time extension, the Senate, it'll have to be a part of this year's legislature, so that's the reason there's no promises or anything. The issue is we either sign the contract or we walk away from $900,000, which will help 2 developments produce 72 and 24, just under 100 new housing units, supplemented with 900,000. We've got, because the public bidding process, by the time you start and go and get it awarded and finally start turning a spoon of dirt, you're about 3 months. So right now, we've got either flip or fly. We got about a 90% chance of completing one of them before July 1. And I would say only a 10% on the Gloria Dave, because we actually have plans and specifications ready to go on one of the projects. So again, that's 3 months from advertisement to bid before you're turning dirt. Unfortunately, this thing was awarded February of last year. They started putting the program together, started doing contracts in August, and I've been harassing them since, other than the one project that took us a little bit of thinking, having to put our thinking cap on, but we were ready to go in October. We finally got a contract the day before I left on vacation, the 30th or the 27th of November, so. But I will tell you, in authorizing this, we are going to default unless they give us a time extension. And I said, what if we get them under contract? We're obligated. The only thing, any contract will come before you again for the construction. So at that point, if we don't have a time extension, you'll have a second chance to say, are we gonna obligate ourselves or not to this project?
So my communication with Business Oregon and Senator Anderson is there's actually a whole bunch of folks that were under this special, they did this special session, the emergency session. And so almost everybody's in the same boat that we were because they created something that Business Oregon had to say, now what? And it was handled differently. Originally, it was supposed to be a direct allocation where they just sent you the check, and they decided to put it under Business Oregon. I keep wanting to say organization. And so, as Ralph said, if we don't get the extension, which will affect everyone, these are lottery dollars. They don't go bye-bye, and so they're committed, and the legislature just simply has to take action. And so they plan on having some tidy up issues with legislation, but we'll know that under the actual award contracts.
Do we have to, so we have to say no to the whole thing? We can't.
The contract, the Senate bill awarded both of the projects, so we basically signed a contract saying we're gonna construct these items. Then we have to advertise, put these out to bid. It will come back to you in about 2.5 months on Maple Leaf. Maybe less than that, 2 months. And Gloria Day will probably be May. If we don't have a time extension, because I don't want to obligate the city, really. Maple Leaf is offsetting the developer's costs for developing this whole thing. We'll actually have to sign an IGA with them also to fund the unfunded portions. Or not intergovernmental agreement, but an agreement, a contract with them. So in essence, other than staff time, there's no dollars in Maple Leaf. In the Gloria Day project, part of it's a sewer extension and part of it's an enlargement of sewer that's 68 years old. So we're actually getting some benefit out of that project in that we were gonna have to replace that sewer sometime down the road anyway, but there's $450,000, of which 200 and some is this extension to serve Gloria Day. The other 200 and some helps, that's about an $800,000 project in total, which again, $500,000 of what we were gonna have to spend anyway to fix our own stuff. Maybe not this year, but down the road, within the next 10, I'll put it that way. So again, we're committing to this, relying on an extension, otherwise we're not gonna complete it, but we won't award the contracts unless we have some promise of an extension when we get the construction contracts.
We're just getting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, it's, the timing, it just took so long to get to where they allowed us to do this. You know, they were supposed to be relatively shovel-ready, which they are, but still, public bidding process takes.
Yeah. That's the biggest part. We applied, we submitted this, was it a year ago?
It was in November of 23.
Yeah, when we actually submitted everything, yeah.
Well, it's good that they're amending the vote with this.
Yeah, we're not the only one in the hole. All right, any additional questions for Ralph?
Yeah, can you explain a little bit about what it means to be located in Coos Bay but serving North Bend?
So we have an IGA with the city of Coos Bay, and it's mostly, think of drainage, what drains which direction. It used to be, when we first started this IGA, I think there's about 35 houses in North Bend go to Coos Bay. We're approaching, between houses and businesses, this is a 72 unit complex, but for example, Laura Lane, if you know where that's at, Larry does, but that all the houses currently built on Laura Lane go to Coos Bay.
Sewer system, just the
sewer system, and they pay their fees. If they come to us, they pay our fees. If you know where Brooklyn Drive is, Brookside Estates, right below the entrance to the hospital, that all comes to North Bend. There's a bunch of stuff along Thompson Road that comes to North Bend, right there on the break, 26th Street. That's in Coos Bay, that comes to North Bend. This will put us on a little more, we'll have almost twice as many homes from Coos Bay, or dwelling units going to North Bend, and Coos Bay, North Bend dwelling units going to Coos Bay. We have an IGA in place, and basically we're collecting the sewer, we're responsible for the maintenance of that sewer line, in this specifically the sewer, and we collect the fees for the sewer use. The only downside to it is, long-term, it takes away our capacity. It was fairly equal, but we'll have about close to 90, and they have about 35.
You may recall we did the same thing with, say, Arby's, where they're actually in Coos Bay, but they're connected to our system, because we were the closest system.
Arby's, Starbucks, and what was going to be Mod Pizza, which is not.
Just AT&T, no, it's T-Mobile.
T-Mobile, yeah.
Okay, so when you say located in Coos Bay but serving North Bend, what you mean is that the sewer system is the North Bend sewer system?
Correct.
Yeah, they're connected to our system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand now,
Yes.
we're interweaved.
Yeah, we can have,
Thank you.
our utilities are allowed to actually go outside the city limits of their enterprise fund, so that's the interconnection. All right, any other questions for Ralph? All right, your next one will be, this is an interesting one. This is something I keep asking Ralph about, and I'm of the opinion we just need to change our code. Apparently, some way back in the day, someone complained that we must have created some type of code that requires every time ODOT or someone wants to do night repairs, it's gotta come before the council. So everything just gets delayed in the process of saying we can't give you a notice to proceed because we have to come to the council and say, hey, is it okay if they follow all of our rules and do, night work? So this is, exactly, and Ralph, you got the floor.
This is for 142, I believe, approximately. Sidewalk ramp repairs. Remember, there's 4 at every intersection, so pretty much anyway. So this is, in this particular case, this work's actually scheduled to start in the fall of 2025. So after their last project, which you approved, which was on 101, and what we review and what council's really reviewing is if it's inordinate noise, because our ordinance says construction can take place from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. unless permitted by city council. It's that simple. In economic sense, working in a highway or adjacent to a highway, it makes a ton of sense. And it creates less disruption to the public other than if you live right there. So the condition we've added to this is no real noisy portion of your project after 11 p.m. And you'll have another one next council meeting.
I can't rebut the noisiest part of it.
Yeah. All right, so next one, number 10, this is authorization to hire Coombs Machine to install a Pista Grid system. That's a Pista Grid system that we bought from the Headworks. In fact, I think someone asked at a previous meeting what the Headworks was. So Ralph, wastewater treatment plant, it's all yours.
Very simply, this is the installation. It took us 9 months to get the equipment after we ordered it. We solicited quotes. It's kind of a small project, so we didn't get a lot of interest. Coombs Machine was a low quote for the project at $9,700. Staff's just recommending we hire Coombs Machine. We solicited 4 quotes, but we only received 2.
You see, there was a little bit like the time machine here. It was ordered in January 2025 and received in October.
So that's a error on dates, but.
We're ahead of the curve. All right, next one will be the award of the Monroe Street Sidewalk Replacement Project, page 273, Ralph.
Again, this was a sewer project. You approved council didn't actually approve, we did it in-house. You actually approved the replacement of sidewalk for this project, around $20,000 worth. However, our guys tore out more sidewalk than we originally anticipated and curb. This specific project gives us an opportunity, if you've driven up Monroe Street, it's 18 feet wide, concrete street. Doesn't meet even fire code, which is a minimum of 20, but regardless, in replacing it, since they did tear out the curb, we're widening the road to 21 feet for a length of 340 feet roughly. We received 3 quotes. The one it's in your packet, but it's not in the legislative file, was Knife River, which was $96,000 some odd, but Riverview Paving was a low quote at $49,900, and if you're wondering why there's a big difference, it adds about 25%. When you, at $50,000 break, you go to prevailing wage. It adds about a 25 to 30% adder to it. So that's, if they'd have got over the top, it would have been closer to 70 on their estimate, but they managed to squeak it under. So it's not as big a spread as you think. And I did call him to verify, let him know, are you sure this quote's good? And he said, absolutely. So we recommend award to Riverview
So
Paving.
how do you avoid prevailing wage?
Keep it under $50,000.
There's been a movement at the state level to increase prevailing wage above 50,000. There hasn't been any traction on that. I know SWAC most recently in the last cycle was asked about it. I suspect it'll continue to come up because 50,000 doesn't get you what it did, back when they put that limit in.
It's been since 2005, I think.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, it just costs the taxpayer 25 to 30% more. All right, any questions for Al? All right, number 12, we don't expect, there's not an executive session, so no action. You have city administrator's report, committee's report, council comments, other business. We don't expect any other business, and then adjournment. Each council member now has their, I call it their little Bible, their manual, information packet. Thanks to Macy and all the department heads painstakingly to update it and make it all look nice. But in there is everything that you need, your charter, your oath of offices, your council rules, all those things. And I generally always have my copy right here to refer. And it's the same documents that your city attorney will look up when questions come up. With that said, we go back to our regular council work session, sir. And next item is number 7, adjournment.